Leaked data from Mercedes' 2026 engine has sent the Formula One paddock into chaos, with rivals like Ferrari, Audi, and Honda filing formal complaints to the FIA over a potential loophole that could give the Silver Arrows a huge advantage. The controversy centers on Mercedes' thermal expansion trick, allowing the engine to pass a 16:1 compression test in the garage while reaching an effective 18:1 on track. This could generate 15-20 extra horsepower, enough to shave up to 0.3 of a second per lap. While the FIA claims the measurement procedure hasn't changed, insiders suggest Mercedes may have engineered pistons, rods, and combustion components with exotic alloys that expand precisely at operating temperature, making the advantage nearly undetectable during static inspections. Later in the video, we'll dissect the leaked engine specifications, reveal the FIA's political dilemma, and show why this single design feature could determine the 2026 championship before a single race even begins. The Formula One paddock is in a state of high alert following the leak of Mercedes' 2026 engine data, which has sparked formal complaints and calls for sanctions from rival teams including Ferrari, Red Bull, and Audi. The leaked information suggests that Mercedes may have discovered a subtle but potentially decisive loophole in the new regulations, allowing them to gain an advantage without overtly breaking the rules. While Mercedes maintains that their engine is fully compliant, the level of detail revealed in the leaks has forced rivals and FIA officials alike to reconsider assumptions about performance parity, creating an atmosphere thick with tension and uncertainty. At the center of the controversy is a sophisticated thermal expansion mechanism. According to insiders, Mercedes' power unit passes the official 16:1 compression test in the garage, but under actual track conditions, it may operate at an effective 18:1. This discrepancy, even if technically legal, could provide a power boost of 15-20 horsepower, translating into up to 0.3 of a second per lap. In a sport where races are won and lost by hundredths of a second, this potential advantage has sent rival engineers into immediate crisis mode, analyzing whether their own designs can counteract or replicate the effect. The FIA has acknowledged receiving multiple protests but has yet to release an official stance or take immediate action. Historically, the governing body has approached such high-stakes technical disputes with caution, weighing both compliance and precedent. This delay has created a strategic vacuum in which teams must act based on assumptions, trying to anticipate how the FIA will ultimately interpret the gray area design. The uncertainty has amplified tension across the paddock, forcing teams to reassess preseason development priorities and testing programs under pressure. Mercedes has publicly insisted that their engine fully adheres to the regulations, emphasizing that all static and dynamic tests are within legal limits. However, the leaked data suggests subtle operational innovations, such as specially designed alloys and precise thermal expansion behavior, which could exploit marginal gray areas of the rules. Rival teams are now faced with a difficult challenge, determining the real-world impact of these innovations while simultaneously planning their own testing, engine mapping, and energy recovery strategies to minimize any disadvantage. The leaked data has not only technical implications but also strategic and psychological consequences. Competitors are forced to operate under the assumption that Mercedes may hold a hidden advantage, influencing every design decision, simulation, and race strategy discussion. Engineers must balance innovation with compliance, drivers must prepare for potential performance gaps, and team principals are under pressure to make decisions without complete information. The uncertainty created by the leak acts as a psychological lever, shifting focus from conventional preparation to defensive and anticipatory planning. Additionally, the controversy exposes a potential flaw in the current regulatory framework. Teams and media have highlighted that the FIA's testing procedures may not fully capture dynamic thermal behaviors that can impact on-track performance. The leak has sparked debate not only about Mercedes' innovation but also about how future engine regulations should be enforced. This regulatory ambiguity adds another layer of tension, as teams must operate in a landscape where even legal innovation can create enormous competitive disparities if the rules are open to interpretation. Finally, the broader consequences of this leak extend beyond Mercedes and their immediate rivals. Any FIA decision regarding the legality of the engine could set a precedent affecting all power unit designs for 2026 and beyond. Teams are aware that how this situation is resolved may influence strategic planning, R&D investments, and the competitive balance for years to come. The leak has turned a single technical revelation into a complex web of uncertainty, strategic recalibration, and psychological pressure that may define the preseason and shape the championship before a single race has been contested. The leaked Mercedes engine data has triggered immediate concern across the paddock, revealing technical specifications that suggest a subtle but potentially decisive advantage. According to insiders, the engine's thermal expansion system allows it to operate at a higher effective compression ratio on track than what is measured during static FIA inspections. While Mercedes asserts compliance with the regulations, rivals are now forced to question whether the engine's true potential has been fully disclosed. Teams like Red Bull, Ferrari, and Aston Martin have begun dissecting the data, attempting to quantify the advantage and determine whether it can be replicated or countered without breaching the rules. Central to the controversy is the thermal expansion loophole, which could allow the engine to extract additional power while remaining technically within the regulations. Estimates from technical insiders suggest that this advantage could be as much as 15-20 horsepower, translating into lap time gains of up to 0.3 per lap. This margin, though seemingly small, is enormous in the context of Formula One, where races are frequently decided by hundredths of a second. The paddock is acutely aware that even a minimal performance edge could impact pole positions, race pace, and championship outcomes. Beyond the raw numbers, the leaked data provides insight into Mercedes' innovative approach to materials and engineering. The engine reportedly employs specially engineered alloys and optimized cooling systems that exploit expansion at precise operating temperatures. This allows the engine to perform differently under real track conditions than what traditional tests capture, creating a scenario where rivals are left guessing about the limits of compliance. The subtlety of this innovation adds a psychological dimension to the technical challenge, putting additional pressure on competitors to anticipate Mercedes' real-world performance. The FIA's delayed response has further intensified tension. While protests have been lodged and acknowledged, no immediate ruling or clarification has been provided, leaving the teams in a state of strategic limbo. Historically, the FIA has been deliberate in its technical adjudications, but this ambiguity forces rival teams to make critical design and testing decisions without certainty about whether Mercedes' engine will ultimately be deemed legal. This situation magnifies the stakes of every preseason decision, from simulation setups to component development priorities. The strategic consequences of the leak ripple beyond immediate technical considerations. Teams are now re-evaluating preseason testing schedules, engine mapping strategies, and energy recovery system calibrations in light of the potential Mercedes advantage. Even small miscalculations in these areas could compound over a race weekend, producing performance deficits. The leak has effectively inserted an invisible variable into every team's operational planning, creating uncertainty that affects engineering, strategy, and driver confidence simultaneously. Psychologically, the leak has altered the competitive dynamic of the paddock. Drivers and engineers must now operate under the assumption that Mercedes may hold a hidden advantage, influencing risk assessment, qualifying strategies, and even in-race decisions. The perception of a superior, yet largely invisible, competitor can create tension, hesitation, and second-guessing across rival teams, making the preseason as much a mental battle as a technical one. Finally, the broader implications of the leaked data extend into governance and future regulations. The FIA must consider not only the immediate complaints but also the precedent any ruling could set for the remainder of the season and for 2026 engine design in general. Teams are acutely aware that the outcome of this dispute may reshape compliance strategies, development priorities, and competitive balances for years to come. The leaked engine data has thus become more than a technical curiosity. It is a catalyst for strategic recalibration, psychological pressure, and tension that will define the season long before the first race lights go green. The key twist emerging from the leaked Mercedes engine data is that it may not simply provide a minor technical advantage, it has the potential to redefine the competitive dynamics of the 2026 season. Rival teams are forced to recalibrate not only their car development and preseason testing strategies but also their broader championship plans. The uncertainty surrounding Mercedes' potential edge has injected an unprecedented level of psychological tension into the paddock, as engineers, strategists, and drivers must operate under the assumption that a single hidden advantage could alter qualifying outcomes and race strategies before the season even begins. The thermal expansion mechanism in Mercedes' engine represents a subtle but powerful twist. While officially compliant under static tests, the engine reportedly achieves a higher effective compression ratio under actual operating conditions, potentially delivering 15-20 additional horsepower. Rivals are left guessing how consistently this advantage manifests in different track conditions, forcing them to overcompensate in simulations, setups, and energy recovery strategies. This ambiguity converts what would normally be a technical challenge into a psychological weapon, as every decision must now account for a moving target whose full performance remains unknown. The FIA's cautious and delayed response adds to the tension. With formal protests lodged but no immediate clarifications issued, the governing body's indecision amplifies the strategic uncertainty for all teams. Historically, the FIA has been deliberate when adjudicating technical disputes, but in this case, the delay allows Mercedes to potentially operate at a competitive edge without consequences. Rival teams must weigh the risks of aggressive development against the possibility of inadvertently breaching regulations, creating a landscape where caution and anticipation dominate pre-season strategy. From a tactical standpoint, the leak has cascading implications. Teams must now adjust their power unit calibration, cooling strategies, and energy deployment simulations to anticipate Mercedes' unseen advantages. Even minor miscalculations could result in significant deficits on track, particularly in circuits where engine efficiency and power delivery are critical. This ripple effect has made preseason testing a high-stakes environment, with every session scrutinized for insights into Mercedes' true performance capabilities, while also protecting against revealing weaknesses to competitors. The psychological impact on drivers is equally significant. The perception that Mercedes may hold a hidden advantage adds pressure to qualifying runs, race strategies, and overtaking decisions. Drivers must balance the need for aggression with caution, knowing that the smallest mistake could be amplified against a competitor with unquantified superiority. This mental tension, layered on top of the technical challenge, transforms the paddock into a high-stress environment where performance depends on both engineering ingenuity and psychological resilience. The leak also highlights the political dimension of the championship. FIA officials are under scrutiny for how they handle compliance and protests, with the potential to set precedents that impact engine design for years to come. Teams are acutely aware that any ruling or lack thereof could validate Mercedes' approach or force widespread redesigns across the grid. The interplay between technical innovation, regulatory interpretation, and political maneuvering makes the situation far more complex than a simple performance debate, with consequences reaching far beyond a single team or season. Finally, the broader significance of this twist is that the 2026 championship may be shaped as much by strategic intelligence and regulatory interpretation as by car performance. Mercedes' potential advantage, coupled with FIA ambiguity, forces all teams to operate in a state of heightened awareness and defensive strategy. The leaked engine data is not merely a technical curiosity, it is a catalyst for preseason tension, strategic recalibration, and psychological pressure that could define the competitive landscape long before the first race lights go green. The paddock is bracing for a season where every lap, every calculation, and every decision carries amplified consequences.